for joining me for the Plant Yourself podcast. I'm your host, Howie Jacobson. If you've got a cranky back or you've been staring at yourself in Zoom screens for long enough that you really don't like your posture, this conversation will be for you. And this was a great reminder for me as well. I've been doing a lot of sitting, a lot of writing. Today I flew down to New Orleans to hang out with Josh and play an Ultimate Frisbee tournament. I'm sitting in Josh's apartment right now recording this on the crappy built-in microphone on my MacBook Air. And I've been paying attention since this conversation that I had yesterday to how I'm sitting, to how my back feels, to motions that I can do to make it feel better. And so this was a great reminder for me, and I hope will be a great reminder for you as well. So without further ado, Leon Turetsky, welcome to the Plant Yourself podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. Did I say your name right?
Yeah, Leon Turetsky. Yeah, Turetsky, like Gretzky. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember him. So you got a really, really useful YouTube channel. It's Back Intelligence. I guess it's backintelligence.com is the companion website. Tell us about it just briefly. What's the site and what's it for?
Yeah, so Back Intelligence is a company I started about 4 years ago, and our main goal is to help people fix their postures from home, as well as help them ease their back pains using natural methods like exercise, stretching, self-massage, ergonomics education. So we don't really deal with things that have to do with surgery type of information. We do talk about, how surgeries actually don't work that much, and the research has shown that. But so we kind of stay away from that and really focus on the natural treatments that someone from home can do at any time on their own for their back pain and posture. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So now I think I read on the site that you have suffered from back pain in your life.
Yeah. I used to. So I'm a professional ballroom dancer, and I used to travel to all these dance competitions. And of course, some of the things that you do when you're dancing is not that great for your body. So it contorts your body, or sometimes you're putting yourself into these different positions that compromise your back. So I used to kind of, as we were traveling for competitions, I used to kind of try to figure out different ways that I can work on my pain on my own. So that's how I learned about self-massage tools that I used to use in hotels, and I tried yoga. I tried different stretches to kind of relieve my pain in between competitions as I used to go. And and then later on, I kind of eventually found out that, I would keep good posture when I'm dancing, but then outside of dancing, I kind of forget about it and I just slouch, and which is not good for you, obviously. So, yeah, and that's how I got more and more into the back pain causes and what posture is all about. And that's later on why I started the company, Back Intelligence.
So, I play sports and I hang out with people, and, I'm 57. And so pretty much everyone I know has back pain. And everyone's got a theory, and everyone's got something that, this worked for me. And it feels like it's a very wild west. And I'm curious, when you started, like, I did this, it worked. Maybe it worked once, but it didn't work another time, or maybe you told someone else to do it and it didn't work for them. How did you begin to get kind of scientific about an approach as opposed to just, do this 3 times?
Yeah. So first of all, just to comment on what you're saying, anybody who says they have the cure-all for back pain is lying because back pain is so complicated that anybody who says, just do these 3 steps and that's all you need and that's going to work for everybody, it's just not true. The best you can do is look at the research, look at people who've tried stuff, look at people who have training, and then try some things for yourself, and then you still have to figure out what works for you. What works for one person may not work for another person. But essentially, there are some things that work for more people than not. And again, now I do want to stress that it also depends on the type of pain that one has. And this is where one of the biggest issues is figuring out what type of pain you have in the beginning, which requires proper diagnosis. You could have postural pain, you could have muscle tension pain, you can have discogenic pain, which is coming from a disc. You can have nerve pain. So these are all different kinds of pain, and I think that some people don't know exactly what they have or what's causing their pain, so they may not be doing the right things. In terms of what we talk about the most would be muscle pain and some discogenic pain. We do talk about nerve pain as well, but essentially what I came to is that you need to take a holistic approach to treating back pain. That it's not just do these exercises. It's not just do ergonomics. It's not just posture. It's not so basically it's not just one or the other. You need to take a holistic approach, and even research has shown that psychological health is extremely important as well. So if you're under a lot of stress, you can also get back pain. So that's why somebody can have the perfect treatment plan and still have pain or pain that doesn't improve because, let's say, they're not getting enough sleep, or let's say they have a lot of stress. So really, at the end of the day, our system is more holistic. So like we do have 2 online courses that we sell, and there it's really a combination of all those things together that we teach people how to do to have the best chance for them to recover or have more good days than bad days.
So when you started thinking about, hey, maybe there's a market for what I know, maybe I can share it with people, and you started doing like market research, what did you discover, and what surprised you?
Well, yeah. So for me, what I saw was that, first of all, a lot of people weren't talking about the psychological component of back pain at all. So it was only exercises. That's the first thing that I saw. I also saw that a lot of people were talking to regular people in this very medical terminology, in words and concepts that the average public simply cannot understand. That's actually one of the biggest reasons I decided to start Back Intelligence, because I wanted to simplify things. So we look at research, like in our articles on our blog, on our website. They're very detailed articles, and we have citations of research there, but we try to make the article very easy to understand for the average person. So that then I think what I saw on YouTube and stuff like that was that a lot of people were just it was hard to understand what they're saying, because it's like they're talking to other doctors instead of regular people. And I think that's something that I wanted to change.
Mm-hmm. And what about when you started like reaching out to potential, prospective buyers? Like, what do people understand? Like I've done online marketing for a long time, and there are things that I would love to sell to people that they need, but they don't want, right? Or they don't think they need it, or they think they need something else, right? Or they want a magic cure, right? As opposed to, like, there's something very depressing about, going to your site and seeing, oh, I have to do this. Like, I have to take care of myself. I can't just do a one thing or buy the magic tool or a new pillow and it's going to fix everything. What did you discover when you started asking the potential buying public, what do they want, and what do they think the problem is?
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that. Some people just want the pill, the quick fix. So right away, that's not the demographic I was looking at. I was really going after the people who have tried, those quick methods, like even just going to a chiropractor, and or surgeries and stuff like that, and they see that at the end of the day, that's not the long-term solution, and that you need to do a lot more on your own. Basically, you need to become your own, in a way, back pain coach. For me, what I discovered is just by putting YouTube videos, we kind of saw what people were resonating with the most and where people's interest was, I guess. One of the first videos that we put out with Dr. David Oliver, who is a chiropractor that we make videos together with him. One of the first videos was a forward head posture video, which now I believe is almost at 5 million views, if not already at 5 million views, which I haven't checked in a while. So that's one of our most viral videos. Maybe it is the most popular one.
4.8 as of this morning, because that's I in preparation I sorted by popularity and I watched that one.
Yeah, and that one blew up during COVID times, especially, and we had a lot of comments that were saying that during COVID I finally decided to fix my posture. So it's kind of like in the beginning, once I also made the link between, how important posture is to back pain as well. As we started putting out the videos, we kind of saw people responding, and then we had a lot of people that it's not that they necessarily have back pain, but they just don't like how their posture looks, right? So that's another big reason why people want to fix their posture is appearance wise. They want to look better. Obviously people who have better posture, they look upon more youthful and more attractive. So and then other people have mobility issues and those types of stuff that we saw as well. So as we're reading the comments and we're putting out videos, but really, just putting out videos and seeing the feedback and the articles as well, and seeing how people are responding to the articles that we were putting out. That was our feedback loop in terms of what people are resonating with and what to sell eventually. Yeah.
I wonder if the part of the pandemic that led people to think about posture was that they're now seeing themselves on the screen, right? Like I was mentioning, like I was just leading a retreat and people were taking little photos, and I was shocked at how forward my head was in a lot of these. And it's, most of the time I can go through weeks without sort of seeing myself, except now being on Zoom all the time, it's kind of rubbed in and I can see 12 people and I notice whose posture feels open and welcoming, who's projecting confidence and leadership. Like it's a very psychological thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And there were studies that show that how your posture also determines your mood and your confidence level. You can just think about, like, here I'm on video. If I'm hunching like this, I might not feel as confident as when I'm here. So it's definitely part of it is body language, and it does signal to people, whether you want it or not. It signals something to people, and I think you're right. I think a lot of people just have never seen themselves from the side, or are not paying attention to their alignment, and so that's interesting that during Zoom call. But you saw yourself from the side view.
Yes. I was, cooking something and someone took the picture, and you're right. It's very different. In the front, it's not so noticeable. From the back, it's not so noticeable because the delta is sort of sagittal, side to side, or, front, back.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Yeah. So somebody caught you from the side, and then, that's when you can really see it from the side view. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The shoulders forward or the head forward. Yeah.
Right. Now, when I was a kid, we didn't have smartphones, but I was still I was always being told not to slouch. And so when someone told me with enough, enthusiasm, I would like sit up ramrod straight. Like I would imagine, I was in the military and someone was, walking on parade and gonna, assess me. And I would be, I'd do that for about maybe 5 or 6 seconds and then forget, and it would hurt. So I would kind of then start slouching again. Do you find that that's a common thing? Like people think, oh, my posture's bad, so I just have to will it to be better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think what happens a lot is that people um, people sometimes actually overcorrect their posture when they become aware of it, and they think they're holding themselves upright, but they're actually overdoing it and stressing their muscles more, and then they get more pain from trying to correct their postures. So that's a common thing, because at the end of the day, it's not that we're looking for perfection, and there is a kyphotic curve to the spine in the upper back, in the thoracic spine. There's a kyphotic curve. So it's just that how kyphotic do you want it to be, right? So kyphotic meaning like hunched, like, so it's like if this is very hunched, this is less hunched, right? So I mean, it's just from the side view, this is a normal, like if you're watching me on video right now, I'm showing my side view of my back, of my shoulders. This is pretty normal kyphotic, but there's a difference between that and this. And then I think that, and I'm just leaning forward, but if a lot of people, what they do is they overcorrect and they start doing this, which they're almost extending back. And so when they're extending back, now they're putting pressure on their low back, and they're trying to hold themselves up in this unnatural position. And you can improve your thoracic curve and your rounded shoulders with exercise, with awareness, with everyday, with ergonomics. And you train your nervous system eventually, and we'll get more into that, to where you don't have to like will yourself completely to do that. That's the whole idea, is that you want it to happen more naturally. In the beginning, it does take a little bit more awareness, but the key is you don't want to overdo it to the point that you are actually stressing your muscles, because then you're just causing yourself more pain. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a long time ago, I studied things like Alexander technique and Feldenkrais, and, they're big on pointing out, like, watch a toddler or even a baby. Like, in order to walk and stand and hold ourselves erect as human beings, we have to be perfect at that stage. And it's sort of like a natural, like almost like juggling, like the Dr. Oliver video. He talks about the head like a bowling ball, like weighing 10 to 14 pounds. And
Yeah.
like at some point, we can't be using like calculators and slide rules to figure out our posture. It's got to come from some sort of innate proprioception. And I'm guessing that one of the things that you teach people is how to discover and obliterate the patterns that keep us from naturally having the posture we're supposed to have.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a habit, I would say. Posture is also a habit, just like everything else. How you move is a habit. So your postural alignment, your static alignment, your dynamic movement, these are all habits that you've adopted over time. And so the key is just to start building the right habits. And through certain stretches and exercises, it just allows you to do it easier. Because let's say your pec minor muscle here is so tight, it won't allow you to even get back to a straighter position. So that's where those types of exercises will help, so that so that your nervous system does it for you, versus you consciously always have to think about that. That's not the direction you want to go. Maybe in the beginning you will have to be more aware of it. So in the beginning stages, you're definitely going to have to be more aware of it. But essentially, over time, you want your automatic nervous system to just kick in, and so you don't have to think about it so much.
What does that feel like? Do most of us have an experience of our autonomic nervous system like doing useful things for us?
Uh, yeah, well, it's like your I don't know if we're gonna go into something else here. It's like your subconscious mind. Like you want to use the conscious mind to then not use it so that your subconscious does the right thing.
Hmm.
It's like muscle memory, right? It's like
Okay.
muscle memory. You want to you learn something a lot, and then it's hopefully through repetition, it's ingrained in your system, right? That's what I mean.
I
And
see.
then so then when you're bending down or lifting something, you already have the pattern of movement is ingrained in your body. You can't do it wrong. When I load the dishes now, it's hard for me to do it wrong. Like I know how to do it properly to not hurt my back. But that takes practice. It's we don't have it necessarily naturally. I mean, some people might know how to hip hinge, but through the hips, for example, but a lot of people don't. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, it's where it feels a little hopeless to me when you say it that way, and I hope you'll correct me, because if it's a habit and I spend 10 minutes a day practicing doing it right, I know I'm spending the other 23 hours and 50 minutes or 15 hours and 50 minutes of waking doing it wrong. So I'm curious, like how the brain works. How can small amounts, like I'm not even doing it 50% of the day right, like how those exercises in small doses of correct can override not just the past but my continued bad posture.
Yeah. So, I mean, one thing that we recommend is, for example, mini breaks during your workday.
Mm.
So most of us sit for way too long. Um, I mean, so what you're saying there is if you do something for 10 minutes, I'm not saying 10 minutes. I'm saying once you become aware of it and you want to fix it, you can, in the beginning, you'll have to do a lot more
Mm.
than 10 minutes, in my opinion, in terms of your awareness. So just sitting correctly, it makes a huge difference, right? So if um, if your screen, if your computer screen is low, so that you always have to do this to look
Uh-huh.
at it, that you're doing that for 8 hours, right?
Right.
Or somebody else in their cubicle. So just lifting this. So one of the things we teach is lifting up the screen to so that the top third is with your eye level, so that
Huh.
you don't have to look down. That takes it out. That's a huge thing that you anytime you sit, you do that. Um,
All right, I'm gonna
getting a
do this.
lumbar.
I'm gonna do this right now, and if for people who are watching on video, you're gonna see me like
Yeah.
so. This is now the correct position, but now I look like short because of the camera is above the monitor.
Ah. Okay. Yeah.
All right, but I'll stay here.
Yeah. Yeah. So now you basically going to build a habit where like so mine is also up. I have and by the way, for those listening at home, you can just get two books or some maybe a few books, 3-4 books, and then place your laptop on it to raise it up. You can also get a stand from Amazon. I'm actually right now I'm using a combination of I have books and then I put a stand on it as well, and that gets me to a good height to work at. So that's a trick that really you can use all day. And then lumbar cushion support for your back so that you maintain a low back arch, which is very important because, that's how our spines are designed. So a lot of people are just slouching all day, but you can just by changing the way you sit, it can make a huge difference. And then the other biggest thing we talk about is taking breaks from sitting. So get up, move around. If you already know certain postural exercises, that's the time when you can get up, do some postural exercise. And we recommend every 40 minutes or so to get up and move around. Some people use a standing desk. You could also do that. but that right there is 8 hours, and then you drive home. You can get a lumbar cushion support. You can notice your position with your elbows. Like if your wheel is too far away and you have to reach, then you start slouching. You can start doing. These sound obvious, but a lot of people don't do them. And then eventually you're going to be on your couch and you become aware, oh, I'm slouching right now when I'm watching TV. What can I do that's different? So like putting a pillow behind your back already makes it better or under your head. When you're reading something, how do you have to, again, bring your head down every time? So just training yourself to do simple movement. Like this is just one of the things. Now, the exercise and stuff will make it easier to get into all these positions and maintain them. But that right there, it becomes like a lifestyle thing where you kind of become aware of it, and then you can make changes.
Yeah, I feel like I need to go grab the cushion now. I kind of felt like lumbar support was like cheating, right? Like my back should be able to do it by itself.
No, I don't think it's cheating.
Oh, good. Okay.
No, it's good when you have this kind of like. So a lot of people, when they sit, they kind of curve in their spine, right? They get into like a C position. Maybe I can show it here on the video.
Okay, sure.
See if you can see me here. So what happens here is that. So I'm just showing it. Yeah. Here. So a lot of people just sit like this all day. So I'm just punching. So there's no support in the low back at all. So just like we call it the C curve. But your spine is more like an S curve. So by having this cushion here, it right away, it gets me in a good position. And then I can work from here. So this is just a little reminder to not slouch in the chair. That, again, makes a huge difference. It's not. I wouldn't say it's cheating. I think it's very useful to do it.
Okay, so I love just as someone who's interested in helping people develop new habits. I love when you can outsource it to the environment, right? So you don't have to constantly be thinking about it, and you have tools that kind of support the new default that you want. So you talked about like a laptop stand or books. I guess for a laptop, a lot of people will need an external keyboard, right? Because if your laptop's up here, and you don't want to be typing like that, so some sort of lumbar cushion.
Exactly.
How do you find the right lumbar cushion? Do you just like buy one on Amazon, or do you try it out, or just can you take a rolled up towel?
Yeah, you can honestly. Yeah, you can do a rolled up towel. So in my car, I just use like a t-shirt, one t-shirt, and I just put it behind my back when I'm driving. So yeah, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You're literally just poking yourself in the low back a little bit so that you have a little arch. That's all. You're still aware of your upper back and stuff like that and your head position. So, you're already thinking about enough things. But the low back, you're just giving it a little bit of support. Finding you could try things out on Amazon. There's so many different types of cushions. I think this is the McKenzie one that I have, and then there's other ones that are more. They come out like they're bigger ones that kind of take up more space. You have to find what's comfortable for you, and you can also use like a towel or a t-shirt. It's perfectly fine too. Yeah.
You have opinions about treadmill desks?
Treadmill desks. Those are desks with a treadmill?
Yeah. So people will like walk, it's like a standing desk, but you have a treadmill. You walk like a mile and a half an hour all the time.
Yeah. I've never tried one, but I like the idea of it. I think movement is crucial. So yeah, I think it's great. Yeah. I think any movement that you can introduce yourself every day is great. So yeah, I think those are great. Yeah.
Right. Can we talk about beds and sleeping, because that's the other time where we can just sort of set something up and passively benefit or be harmed by it.
Yeah.
How do I know if I've got a shitty bed, or if I'm not doing my posture or my back any favors in bed?
Yeah. So in terms of the mattress, it's very individual, so I can't really say like a general thing. But like the main thing is that when you're lying in bed, is that you're not collapsing into it, because that's going to affect your posture. So we usually recommend like medium firm type of mattress if we had to recommend something, but that's still very individual. But the way you sleep and your pillow can also make a difference. So basically, there's two sleeping positions that you should be sleeping in. It's on your back or on the side.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically it. So you don't want to sleep on your stomach. And if you have to sleep on your stomach, I wouldn't do it for a long time, because then your neck is all crooked. And that's how a lot of people can wreck their necks. So the side sleeping position and on the back is one of the best ones. But then you have to make sure that, so when you're sleeping on the back, you want the pillow to support you in a way that your head is not so much forward during that. And on the side, you need enough support so that your head is not collapsing. And this is where it gets difficult with pillows. So you have to find a good pillow that has enough support on the side, especially, so that it supports this space here, so your head's not collapsing, because that will cause some neck pain. And then the other thing is some people sleep in a fetal position where they're bringing their knees up way too high. They're bending them almost to their chest, which, again, if you think about that, what does it do for your back? It's your spine is not in a neutral position. So opening up that angle would help, so that you could still have your knees bent if you want, just you don't have to be in like a fetal position all crunched up. Mm-hmm. Just open up the angle of the hips a little bit, and that will that's a much better way to sleep. So trying those things out.
Uh-huh. What do you do when you discover, your partner or someone tells you you're sleeping in a bad position, and you're like, but I'm asleep, it's not my fault? Like, I don't, like, I didn't mean to snore. I didn't mean to kick you, but, it's like, I'm totally, unaccountable when I'm asleep. How do you help
unconscious.
How do you help people be conscious while they're unconscious?
It's a habit. It's still a habit. I used to at one point sleep a lot on my stomach. Like, I found it really, I like to toss and turn a lot in bed, and I just like to change position. But then when I got more education about it, now I'm only sleeping on my back or side. And again, it's just like a habit where you're just like more aware of your position. Obviously, if you in the beginning, again, it takes time, and so just, again, it's about repetition. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like unless the person wants to change it, if they don't want to change it, they will not be able to change it. So, like you said, if your spouse or your partner, someone's like, if they don't want to change it, they probably won't. But if they do want to change it, then you could tell them, hey, by the way, I saw you sleeping on your stomach, and you can kind of help each other out. You can tap them on the shoulder. That's a cue for them to roll into a different position. Uh-huh. I don't know, but I think that, for me, I can go into sleep, and right now it's a habit. I switch between side and back. I roll around, but I don't really go on the stomach, just because I guess I train myself that way.
Gotcha. So it almost seems like I'm thinking for myself, I might need two different pillows for back. There's a fair amount here between the shoulder. Maybe two pillows on the side or one. Because I do feel like when I have
You
one of the very
could.
fluffy pillows that I wake up with forward head.
Yeah, so you could do two pillows. There are some pillows. I found one on Amazon that's, I think it's contour, where it's higher on the sides
Mm.
and lower in the middle. So if you can get one of those types of pillows, so you just switch to the side one, to the edge of the pillow, and that's for the side one that's bigger, and then it's smaller on the back. Some people sleep without a pillow at all when they're sleeping on the back. I don't know. It depends on your comfort level, but you could find a pillow that's kind of good enough for both. You just have to see. Yeah, it depends on your body and shoulder length here. Um, you'll have to shop around and figure out, like, if you can get one that's like, okay, it maybe it's not going to jut your head forward too much, and it gives you a good side support. That's probably the best one. Or two different pillows, or a contour pillow. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So now we're talking about like actually figuring out what's going on and fixing it. You mentioned that it's important for us to diagnose or to be diagnosed before we just rush in and try to do things. You mentioned there's 4 types of pain related to back, and some are more common than others. How do we figure out what's going on for each of us?
Yeah. Well, diagnosis is something that you should take seriously in the very beginning. It depends on your symptoms. It depends on how long the pain is going on. And the best thing that I can recommend for people is to go to a good chiropractor or physical therapist if they're not sure what type of pain they're having. Okay. So you have, acute pain if you just strained your back, if you pulled your back, like lifting something heavy, especially incorrectly, that's going to feel like a sharp pain. And it's usually going to be muscle pain, muscle tissue and fascia, that you torn fibers of the muscle. Some nerve pain, like sciatica, you're going to feel like tingling and numbness in your legs, going down your legs, because the sciatic nerve runs through the legs. And that could be caused by herniated disc or bulge disc. The problem with bulged and herniated discs, for example, that's another thing that people get diagnosed with, but sometimes it causes pain and sometimes it doesn't. That's where it gets very complicated. So that's why if you can find someone who can diagnose you properly, that's the best. But you want to really watch your symptoms and then have somebody evaluate you to know what's up. And then you have to sometimes you have to try different exercises and tests to see if you do a certain position, does it provoke pain or take away the pain? That's another way of determining what's going on with some of those more complicated situations. But still, most people's pain, I would say, is still going to be coming from musculoskeletal, so like muscle pain and stuff like that, anatomic pain that they can treat on their own. For things like disc pain and nerve pain, that's where you really want to go to someone else. If the pain doesn't go away, it could be an indication. That's another indication. If the pain continues for a long time, it could be coming from a disc, or it could be a trapped nerve in there.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So like I've had sort of lower back ache for years and years and years, decades and decades. And I'm wondering, I also notice, like when I put on my socks, I do it very differently left to right. Like my left foot can come up, medially, but my right foot, I have to go out to this laterally and kind of put it on backwards. And I'm curious about, like, is that an imbalance that is caused by the back pain, or is causing the back pain, or everything's all connected and it doesn't matter where I start? Like, how do I think about like beginning to treat something like that?
So you're saying that, so why did you decide to put on your shoes in that way?
because that's the only way I could do it.
Do you,
I can't get my right leg up high enough in the middle. It feels like my hip is locked. My right hip is locked. So if I try to bring my foot up like this, it stops like around the calf. It's like I can 3-4 inches, whereas the other foot can come up to the waist.
okay, so you have more flexibility on one leg or in the hip than the other,
Right,
probably.
right. And I'm wondering what's the relationship between that and back pain?
Yeah, and so do you get back pain from putting on your shoes, or did you in the past?
No, because I don't spend much time doing it. I just notice that it's kind of hard to bend. So one of the things that reliably gives me back pain is whenever I go to a yoga class and I let my ego get in the way and I try to do forward bends. Like, yogis, people who do yoga love forward bends. And I go to the class and they all look so beautiful and they're, gods and goddesses. And I'm like, well, I want to be like that too. And I'll do the forward bends and the forward folds. And then I'm a mess for like 3 days.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's one of the exercises that we don't recommend. Like we have a video about that. we have several videos where we just talked about do not forward bend because it puts way too much pressure on your spine's discs, and that's what can cause bulge disc or herniated discs. So that's why we don't recommend that at all. In yoga they do it a lot, and they tell you to really curve your spine and all that. That's actually not good for you. Going back to your shoe thing, I mean, it could be that when you were doing it on one side or the other, I mean, I don't know. This is just one idea. It could be that over time maybe you adjusted because you felt more pain when you were trying to bring one leg in a way that wasn't working for you, and that took away the pain, for example. So that's another thing that we teach is when you figure out your pain trigger, you want to avoid it. Or in your case also, you might not have enough hip flexibility on one leg. So let's say you have tight hip flexors, which is actually also another indicator of low back pain, by the way. So if you have a tight hip flexor and you're not able to bring your knee up in that way, then you adjust it to a different position, which I don't see anything wrong with that. To say that that's the cause of your pain, not necessarily. Could be, but it could be more things going on. But tight hip flexors is an indication of that it could cause low back pain.
So I guess that's why go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, so you have all these different videos with different exercises. I was watching, with the Y and the W and the T and the L. I guess, what you're telling people is to take charge and be your own scientist, right? Like we don't know what's going to fix you. It's not one size fits all. So try things and see what happens.
Well, yes, that's true. We have specific exercises and stretches and techniques that we would do for someone who is. So the two main things that we focus on is the upper back posture, upper back, which would include the neck, as well as the lower back, and which would include the hips. Now they do correlate together as well. But for example, what you just said, the Y's and W's, so bring the arms up, W, L, T, like all that stuff, that would be more for the upper back and shoulder mobility. That's loosening you up. And then for the low back, we would focus on stretching the like tight hip flexors and strengthening the core area so that you're in a better alignment. So you have better posture that way, which would affect your lower back. So yeah, we basically are giving people tools that they can do on their own from home. They can try on their own from home and see how it feels. You know, you have tight shoulders, try this exercise. You have stiff neck, try this mini routine for your neck. Yeah, and so these are bite-sized information. But like I said before, you got to do all those types of exercise and then take a holistic approach with everything else for it to really to make some progress.
Right. And so you mentioned like strengthening exercises. And I think, you know, for most of my life, when I thought about fixing my pain or my posture, it was all about stretching. And it was very little about strengthening. And as I grow older and wiser, I'm realizing that, you know, certain exercises that I'm doing, like kettlebell swings or holding the top of a push-up, are actually more useful than stretching. Do you have a theory or an approach to that?
Yeah, so you really need both. Okay, so basically, we have certain muscles that are weak, and on majority of people, those muscles would be weak. For example, there's this muscles here in the neck that we call them deep cervical flexor muscles, that for majority of people, these muscles in the neck are weak, and which contributes to forward head posture. So that's why you see a lot of people talk about chin tucks. That's one of the exercises. This is a strengthening exercise where you're we have a detailed video on our YouTube channel if people want to see it, but you're just tucking in your chin, and you have to get like a packing in the front, so you're really working this area. That's just one weaker muscle. Like the core tends to be weak, and which correlates to low back pain as well. And then there are other muscles that or muscle groups that are chronically tight on a lot of people, like hip flexors, because we sit, for example, for so long. So those require stretching. So a lot of people will have tight hip flexors, so we would recommend stretching. Your shoulders and thoracic mobility is also a contributor to a lot of upper back dysfunction and neck dysfunction. So basically, working on, like, even just doing this without compromising your low back, but doing we have a lot of mobility stuff, like we do it over the foam roller, where you're lying down and you're basically training to basically get out of that hyperkyphotic curve that a lot of people they're constantly like this all day. So that's something that needs mobility. So you have certain muscles that need strengthening and certain muscles that need stretching. And so when I got certification from the NASM, National Academy of Sports Medicine, and so there that's where I learned a lot of which muscles are mostly overactive, which muscles are underactive. This is not universal. It's not for everyone, but you can also see for yourself. Like, for example, what you just told me with your shoes, that right away tells me perhaps you have tight hip flexors there, or one more than the other. So you can also identify in yourself. But yeah, I would say strengthening is extremely important, and people shouldn't just stretch. Stretching feels good, and it's good for mobility. But at the end of the day, if you're really thinking about it, you need stability. So your spine, so the core muscles, they provide stability for your spine. So you want to work on that. There's muscles in the upper back, like low trapezius and serratus anterior muscles, just very small postural muscles that are also underactive, or even the rotator cuff muscles. They can be so you can even have a lot of strength, like strong chest muscle and all that, but you might have weaker rotator cuff muscles that can contribute to postural issues and or shoulder dysfunctions. So then so I agree with you, like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff you could do to strengthen your body that are very useful, and yeah, stretching is not the only answer.
Right. And the more I think, the more I sort of see people, the older they get, people who are really hunched over or have trouble walking, I'm really, much more motivated now. I still think of myself as 20, but I'm getting up there. And
You look like 20. Yeah.
Thank you. Until I put my shoes on, then you'll see I'm an old man, right? But to take it to, I want to age gracefully, and maintain my independence and maintain my ability to do things and to move. And it feels like, every day that I put off really paying attention to the full mobility of my body is going to come back and bite me. So I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I'm getting more sort of urgently motivated to really focus on this.
Yeah, and we hear that a lot. People, as they get older, they really care more about their posture, their appearance, and mobility, especially as well. I've seen studies that say your thoracic kyphosis gets worse with age by a lot, and that's why, and that's because of the habits and all the exercising and stretching that people are not doing. They get to a point of basically no return. As bleak as it sounds, it's kind of like the way we say is that your specifically your posture, it's the same thing as going to the gym and working on your muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. So if you want your muscles to even maintain the strength that they have, you have to go to the gym just for maintenance. It's the same thing with your thoracic kyphosis. If you or your head position, if you're not going to do those chin tucks and being aware of your position and stretching some of the back, like there's a muscle here in the back of the neck that gets tight on most people, which there's a specific stretch for it that can alleviate that pain. But if you don't, it can push you more forward. So there's these different stretches and exercise and strengthening exercise that you need to do. As you get older, I would say it becomes even more important. But again, a lot of it is habits that you've built. If you've been sitting like that for 30 years, it's going to take a lot more. Like you're going to need to become more aware of it as if you want to fix it. And that's why we recommend doing like a postural sequence every day, maybe upon waking up and or in the evening as well. And of course, some people might prefer to do it like as mini breaks throughout the day. I mean, both can go together, especially if you're sitting a lot. But yeah, we recommend doing like a posture practice daily for that reason.
Gotcha. So let's let folks know where they can find out more, watch the YouTube videos, read the articles, and also these two courses that take people much deeper and sound like they're more interactive, so that people can get the most out of the work you do.
Yeah, sure. So the best thing you can do is first of all, just go to YouTube and type in back intelligence. You can look at some of our videos, like they're all free there, lots of great information, or visit our website, backintelligence.com. We've got the articles in there. And then we do have the 2 premium courses that we sell on our website. We open doors to them only a few times per year, 1 or 2 times per year. So if it's not open right now, you can just get on the wait list, put in your email address, and then we announce them. And yeah, so what we do with these, so it's the complete posture fix is one course, and the other one is the complete low back fix. So they're kind of targeting different areas. And it's basically a holistic approach to helping you either fix your posture or get out of low back pain. And there's 5 modules included, as well as follow along videos there that you can use on a daily basis. That's one of the biggest selling points, I would say. And then we do some live Q&A sessions there as well, so people can get their questions answered during the time that we run these courses, as well as there's a private Facebook group for support for these courses. So that's why we do them live.
Excellent. Well, you've inspired me to pay more attention. So the first thing I'm going to do is get a cushion for my lumbar now that I have your permission. and I'll
Great. Yeah.
I'll check out more of those videos. And I love this idea that I can take just short breaks during awareness breaks and notice where I'm collapsing and slumping, and I feel better immediately.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, once you become aware and you really want to make a change, it's in anything in life. It's how bad do you want it? Then you become aware of it and you start working on it. And posture and back pain is similar. Yeah.
Great. Well, Leon Turetsky, thank you so much for all the wisdom you have shared. It's been a pleasure talking to you, getting to know you a little bit. And I hope folks will check out backintelligence.com and the YouTube channel of Back Intelligence. There's a lot of really powerful gems in there for people to improve their lives. So thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I enjoyed this discussion. Thank you.
All right. You can find the show notes with links to Leon's YouTube channel and his website, where you can find out more about the online courses that he offers at plantyourself.com/510, 510. Woohoo. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I am in New Orleans for an Ultimate Frisbee tournament over the weekend. Came down to have a few extra days before and after just to hang out with Josh. We just finished up a couple of kick-ass retreats. One was for health coaches. That was for over 3.5 days to help people really get into their practice and go beyond knowledge and really into, if you're doing coaching right, it's a little bit scary. You're being bold. You're trying things. You are challenging your clients, and that's what we worked on. And then there was the second half of the week from Thursday to Sunday, a Sick to Fit retreat, which was just phenomenal. We had 9 participants plus me and Josh, and we helped out at a farm sanctuary. We ate great food. We had conversations full of laughter and tears. We supported each other. We formed a family. And I wanted to come down and talk to Josh about keeping it going. When are we going to do this again? Maybe 3 or 4 times a year, because it's so rewarding. So if you're interested in that, you can check us out at sicktofit.com. I don't have a webpage up for it right now, but if you want to look at the last one we did, it'd be sicktofit.com/NC, short for North Carolina. We'll probably do another one of those in the fall, and we're looking for a Louisiana one, and I am kind of jonesing to do one in Central America, either in like Costa Rica or Mexico, somewhere that's beautiful with access to beaches and fresh produce and lots of nature. So stay tuned if you're interested in that. So in terms of movement news, the Ultimate Tournament is what I got going on. Josh and I did roughly a 4-mile run up from his apartment up past the Superdome, through the French Quarter, back around. And the tournament is Saturday and Sunday. There are 18 of us on the team, 7 play at a time, so that means those who want can play pretty much every other point. So that will be pretty intense, especially if the weather gets as hot as it often gets here in NOLA. Garden news, I don't know. There's a garden. It's several hundred miles away from me, and I'm not thinking about it right now. All right, time for thanks. Thanks to Will Ridenauer for allowing me to use his beautiful song Sabali Dawn, the Dance of Peace. You can find more of Will's music at his website, willridenauer.com. And of course, thanks to all of you Plant Yourself podcast patrons. Kim Harrison, Lynn McClellan, Brittany Porter, Dominic Maurer, Barbara Whitney, Tammy Black, Amy Good, Amanda Hatherley, Mary Jane Wheeler, Ellen Kennelly, Melissa Cobb, Rachel Behrens, Tina Scharf, Tina Ahern, Jen Filikanovsky, David Bizek, The Mysterious Michelle X, Elsbeth Feldman, Leah Stoller, Alan Christensen, Colleen Peck, Michelle Landry, Josina, Sarah Durkis, Kelly Cameron, Janet Selby, Claire Adams, Tom Franzek, Jeanette Bennett, Gila Sert, David Donahue, Blair Cyber, Dorona Vizov, Gio and Carolyn Argentati, Jody Friesner, Misha Rosen, Michael Warbeck, Aviva Lael, Alicia Lemus, Val Linneman, Nick Harper, Bandana Chawley, Molly Levine, The Inscrutable Harry R., Susan Laverty, The Panda Vegan, Craig Kovic, Adam Scharf, Karen Burry, Heather Morgan, Nigel Davies, Marion Blum, Teresa Koppel, Julian Watkins, Breed O'Connell, Sharon Hirschman, Linda Ayat, Holm Hedegaard, Isa Tuzinwa, Connie Hainline, Aaron Greer, Alicia Davis, Heather O'Connor, Carolyn Jensen, Sherry Olakoski of Plant Powered for Health, Karen Smith, Scott Marani, Karen and Joe Crabtree, Kirby Burton, Teresa Carell, Kevin McCauley, Elizabeth Rothschild, Ann Jesse, Cheryl Dwyer, Jenny Hazelton, Peter W. Evans, Dennis Bird, Darby Kelly, Laurie Fanny, Linnea Lundquist, Emily Iconelli, Levy Wallach, Rosamund McAtee, Dan Picorni, Stephen Leenan, Patty DiMartino, Mike and Donna Kartz, Deanne Bishop, Bilberry Elf, Marjorie Lewis, Tricia Adams, Nancy Sheldon, Lindsay Bayshore, Gunmarie Hagan, Tracy Gullidge, Laura Heaton, Meg from Mama Says, Stacey Stokes, Ben Savage, Michael Kay, David Hughes, Connie Rogers, Claire England, Sally Robertson, Paranganchi, Amy Daly, Brian Tourville, Mark Jeffrey Johnson, Josie Dempsey, Karen Schmidt, Pamela Hayden, Emily Perryman, Allison Corbett, Richard Stone, Lauren Vaught of Edible Musings, Aaron Hasty, Sean Owen, Sagar Naik, Erica Piedra, Danielle Roberts, Michael Lushton, Sarah Johnson, Catherine Floyd, for your generous support of the podcast. That's it for now. As always, be well, my friends.